politics, but also not forgetting inspirational and, of course, other issues as the way they come. Now, today, of course, we are focusing on children's rights, but particularly child violence that has become a scourge or a menace in our community, in our society, and in our country as Uganda. We want to look at the causes, the effects, the issues, how they come about, who causes them, and how exactly we can solve them. But before that, I'd like to remind you that Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe is your destination in case you are looking for comfort and luxury at its best. Of course, they do have a number of services, including a swimming pool, but also not forgetting a health club. They have a gym, a fully fledged spa, and some other services that you can go and check out, including some continental dishes, cuisines, and their menu is really, really wide. Ugandan dishes as well. You can go and try them out. You can call the numbers on your screen for you to book your reservations, and it is Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Today I do have some guests in studio. They are going to be taking us through the discussion and telling us exactly about child violence, bringing the expertise to you, our viewer, and at the end of it we will see that we learn a thing or two, and of course we also want to look at what are our leaders supposed to do in cases of child violence, or what have they done to mitigate this challenge that we are facing. One of them is called Patrick Byekwaso from Children in Families. He's a Children in Families Programs Manager from Children at Risk Action Network. The other is Richard Rukundo, Youth and Children's Program at Church of Uganda. Now, of course, we are going to welcome them, starting with Patrick Byekwaso. You're very welcome to studio, sir.
Thank you so much. It's a joy to be here, and good morning, our viewers.
Okay. Reverend Richard Rukundo, you're welcome.
Good morning and praise the Lord. It's nice to be back on Church of Uganda Family TV. I'm not new to the screen here, but I know God has called us to love and serve Him.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you so much. Gentlemen, if we can begin by understanding who a child is, even before we get to other issues. Now, of course, I would like to get the perspective of you both, but starting from a church perspective, who is a child? Reverend Richard Rukundo.
Yes. The church is not different from what the world defines a child as.
Okay.
But I think we get more a bit detailed to the biblical point of what a child is. A child is a gift from the Lord. That's the basic biblical interpretation that we use. And a child, of course, legally is supposed to be below 18, but sometimes we say children are those who are below 13, below 12, below 15. Sometimes when we become 15, we become teenagers, and then we get youth groups which are around 15 to 20. 35, so children actually are below 18 legally, and as church we hold that as well. But in a setting, sometimes I think children, we look at those who are 12 years below, but a child is a gift from the Lord. Anyone that, you are still a child as well before the parents, and we are all children before the Lord. So for a gift that comes from the Lord is a child. So no matter what age which the law wants us to talk about, I think for us in the church, a child is a blessing. A child is a gift from the Lord. Have you received a gift from the Lord? That's your child. So you may be still say I'm 90, but before your parents, you're a child.
You're 5.
And we're all children of the Lord.
Okay, thank you so much. And Patrick Byekwaso, what would you define a child as?
Yeah, thank you. I'll agree with what Reverend has said, but just to underscore the definition, the legal definition of a child, because when we get into now the legal matters, anyone below the age of 18 is regarded as a child. So yes, I agree, before your parents, you're always a child, and they'll see you that way. But when we are dealing with some of these aspects, especially before the law, then the age actually comes into play. I know that in most churches, children's ministry would stop at about 13, but we need to recognize that even before someone reaches 18, when they are considered an adult, we should view them as children that are still growing and developing in different ways.
Thank you. So we start with the causes of child abuse or child violence, like we have called it. And one of the things that I've seen the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development come up with are the statistics of children that are being tortured, children that are being abused. But also, there is this issue that I want us to first talk about, the issue of children telling maybe the police or these children's rights activists, children always report to them and say, my parents do not understand me. So children are claiming parents do not understand them, and that is why they are being tortured. Some of these children are not even being tortured that much. Maybe a parent gives them 2 canes, 2 strokes, and to them that's child torture. In the world of today, these children who are, have grown up in a developed world and, with internet and all, for them they see that as torture. And I'd like to get your side. What do you have to say about the fact that some children, as we get into the causes, some children are using torture as something they refuse to be corrected by their parents in the name of anything like correction is torture to them. Even before we get to the real torture, there are some children who are claiming they are being tortured, yet it's actually not true. A parent is trying to correct them. Do you agree with this fact? I'll start with Patrick Byekwaso.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's an interesting discussion right there, especially when a parent is trying to be a parent and a child is not responding to what the parent is calling them towards. And it would be important that children are learning these words, that we need to spell out what these words actually mean to them before they use them. Now, do we have cases of torture that happen in Uganda? Yes, we do. And the news is full of many of these very difficult and challenging situations where you see parents going to the extreme in the name of instilling discipline, and those are things we need to really stand out against.
Yeah.
And as we do that, we also need to educate our children well on what torture actually is and what it isn't.
Okay.
But it's two-sided, and most times when such cases are reported, what would happen is both sides would be listened to, but you have to recognize that as children being underage, they need to be protected because of the kind of stage they are going through.
Okay, and Reverend Richard, do you agree that some of these children are just being not truthful? They are denying their parents the chance to bring them up in a disciplined manner?
Thank you. I think that we really are challenged because the times we are living are not our times. And that's why I want to call upon parents to be able to understand that the days of our days when parents would cane you and that was okay is no longer the case. So I want to say the times have changed. It is no longer like I was beaten, so I have to beat you. I was given this punishment, so I have to give it to you, which wasn't there during our days. And that law, you might say I was doing corporal punishment, I was beating, but if the law comes to you, you will not be exonerated because you know that's what I was done as a parent. So it's also good to know that this child, as you're disciplining as a parent, there is a legal mandate which we all are binding to. How does it define how we raise our children? Because the children are ours, but they also belong to the country. And they have guidelines and regulations that are there. So that's number one. As a parent, ignorance is not a defense. That once you got police, you cannot say, I was trying to discipline. How did you do it? You caned the child, which is corporal punishment. You might actually have to answer some questions about how you did it.
Yeah.
So I don't want you as a parent to be in the wrong and then say I was not aware. Two, we also need to differentiate between discipline and punishment. I keep telling parents that there's a difference between disciplining your child and punishing your child. Many times when we beat our children, we are in anger. We are trying to be angry. And there's a difference between I'm trying to help the child to know that what they did was not right. And so I'm correcting them to be able to know discipline. Discipline is correcting. It's a process. It's understanding. Children are young. They are going to make mistakes. They're going to be in error. And they always will be. As a parent, you need to know that this child, you need to help them to grow in this discipline.
Okay.
Every time you do punishment, which we say which corporal punishment, you may do it in anger, but this child, is he learning what you want them to learn? So what is your intention of making the child corrected? They need to know what it is, and you need to know as a parent that it's not a one-off thing. It's a process. I'll keep helping them. If you don't do this, I will not do this. If you do this, I'll do this. So the child knows that there's a process, there's something you do. Many of us as parents get angry, you get a cane, you beat, you're angry, you do something, you pour hot water, you burn, you do everything. Now that one you'll be answerable to because you're doing it out of anger, and the child is not even benefiting from that kind of correction that you want to do. So there's a difference between what you're doing. Are you doing punishment? Are you doing discipline? And we know that discipline is the right thing, but it doesn't come instantly. It takes time to come. So as you help the children to be corrected, yet teach them what the right thing should be, and give them time to actually adjust, to change, to know what the implications are when you don't do it. Because then as a parent, you're helping them to actually come the right thing, as opposed to you saying, I am beating. And that's when the child will also love you, will know that, yes, my parent has told me that when I don't do this, this happens. This is not the right thing, I shouldn't do it. Because you set guidelines, and that's very right. Other than you coming out of anger and you beat and you cane, I think you use corporal punishment, which is not. So if a child take you to police, they will tell you that may be something you'll be answerable to, because it's illegal. But otherwise, in actual sense, is what is also achieving. Is it achieving the purpose which it intended to? The intention is that this child learns the right thing, correction. And I think even God doesn't punish us every time we do wrong. He doesn't cut off our ears and our eyes. He doesn't beat us with he also gives us time. So I think as parents, we have to understand that children need to be given time to understand what their mistakes are, and give them time to correct them, and that's a process you work with them.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Now, under child violence still, we have abuse, and I would like to start with child labor. And what would you, gentlemen, define child labor as, starting with Patrick Byekwaso?
Yeah, thank you so much. Child labor would involve any work that hinders a child from accessing their rights that they have, and in most cases it would also be harmful to this particular child. Now we can talk of incidences where children are taken out of school in order to do some form of work, or where you have them involved in very dangerous work, like when you take them to the quarries and things like that. That will amount to child labor. Now there's work that we do at home, and that's part of the house chores, and I think the best way to go about it is for parents to be able to have kind of like schedules, so that you know that the child has time to play, the child has time to study, the child also has time to participate in the chores that need to be done at home. But where you take them out of these things and you deny them these things, and just because they have to work, and so you see children walking on the streets, some of them up to midnight, you find them on the traffic lights still selling and saying, oh, I'm looking for school fees, and you're thinking, why is a child looking for school fees at midnight, yet even a parent can't look for that fees at
that
midnight?
time.
Then that's where you begin to see child labor. You hear stories of children being taken out of school even when exams are about to start, and they're being told, well, this is the money that's going to feed us for the rest of the year, so you need to come and work. And you're thinking, can't they go to school? And then after that, they could probably help out. And the other aspect we need to think about is work that fits within a child's age and the child's ability, because our children are created different, but also their abilities are very different, and something that fits within their age. But sometimes you find a very young child, 5-year-old, and given a task that even a 20-year-old would struggle to do, but then this parent would struggle to do, but then this parent is insisting, you have to do it. Do you know what I had to do when I was your age? And you're thinking, it wasn't right, so it doesn't mean we carry on with what was done to us that wasn't right.
Exactly. One of the trending clips actually on social media shows an 8-year-old guy or child, male is what I mean, and he was asked why he was on the road, like you said, and he said his mother sent him to go and look for the school fees. Now when the police went to the mother, they found out the mother was at home just waiting for all her kids to, bring back this money. And I'd like to ask Reverend Rukundo, this is a form of child labor. What do you have to say about it? And not only the definition, but talk about how it's becoming a problem in our society today.
Thank you, Carol. And I think that we really have a problem as a country. We have a challenge as parents because we are not making enough money. So we think the children should actually make money or raise support for the... But let me tell every parent out there, the children are not supposed to look after themselves. We have created them, we have been given them as gifts. The children are here, they are not here to actually look after themselves. If you're getting a child, you're a parent, know that you have a responsibility to make sure that this child grows and reaches what God wants them to do. Now, unfortunately, is that some parents even take it to another level. and they actually want to punish the children with the work that they give them at home. Unfortunately, it is happening. I have met many children on the street. Some of them run away from home because the stepmother is mistreating them, a father is beating them, or somebody is mistreating them. There's a thing where the child cannot manage to do, and I think Patrick said it properly. A child cannot carry, a child of 5 years carrying a jerry can of 20 liters, honestly. A child of 10 years cooking food for whatever family, or doing things which you really see are beyond their age. So it's unfortunate that sometimes our own mothers, our own fathers are mistreating us at home. It's very unfortunate. You are a parent, you think you're teaching this child the work to do, but the work you're giving them to do, actually the child cries, the child has wounds over the body, the child is all malnourished. You can see that this work is not. And unfortunately, you find neighbors are aware. You know, this call we are here to do is that even you, the neighbor, even you, the friend, even you, the Christian, when you see this child is not doing something right, and you keep quiet about it, you're also part of the participation of the exploitation of this child in child labor. So if you see a child on the street, you see a child, actually for me, I always ask them, why are you here? There's even a little boy I remember I was asking, and he said, my grandmother is in Katanga. I said, can we go? Why are you here this time? What are you doing? And you know, we kept in touch. I talked to grandmother. I said, grandmother, this child is not supposed to be here at night. You know, you see, I said, no, this child has a right to be at home at this time. So I want to encourage our community, our parents, to know that a child is under your care. You can only help them to do what they can do with you, especially when they are with you. If you go to the garden to dig, go together. If it is cooking, if you can do it with somebody who is an adult, if you teach them what to do, especially when they are very young, learn to do things with them. But the things where you send the child out there, you give the child something to do, go to the river, go and do this, go and buy this at this time. All that actually, it takes advantage of the child. A child is going out scared, they are running in darkness, they are afraid. I think even that's labor by itself. A child you send to buy salt or sugar at night in the darkness, and the child is so scared. Even that is exploitation and abuse of this child in terms of labor, because the child is not supposed to go at night, scared, afraid, but they're doing things in the night, and that's unfortunate. So I call upon parents to remember that a child is a gift, a child is a blessing to you. Let them not look after themselves like they're orphans. When especially you're around, there are many parents who want to treat their children as if they are orphans. When they are there, they are alive. Please, let's love them. Let's do what we can. Make sure this child grows and appreciates work and appreciates that they are children and they need to grow.
Thank you. In form of abuse, we also have physical and sexual abuse that also has become a problem. We have grandfathers defiling their children, fathers defiling their children, mothers defiling their boys. A very, very sad situation. And the reports indicate that it is increasing. Why? Because when these cases are reported to police, the police comes out and says, no, you go and handle it family to family, between families or between the interested parties, the stakeholder, where it has happened. So the police is also not doing enough to curb this vice, or to give a punishment where other people will see and say, I will not do it because I'll go through what that person went through. And my question would be, why is it increasing? Why is abuse increasing in form of sexual and physical? We're going to combine the two, because sometimes before this father will sexually abuse you, he will slap you or want to beat you up, and then we'll do the act later on. And it is very, very sad. And maybe we shall start with Patrick to tell us about what you think about this particular matter.
Yeah, when we talk about the physical abuse, we are talking about any actions that we do that inflict bodily harm, but also cause pain to the children. And the corporal punishment we talked about earlier is one of those things that actually do that. And if I was to add on what Reverend Richard mentioned earlier, is discipline is about training people. It's not about punishing them. So before you get to that point of hitting someone, what have you done to train them to have these good ways of conducting themselves? And so if you've done the training, then you find that there's no need to inflict the bodily harm. And as he said, most times we do that out of anger, and you're just thinking of, I need to express my anger, which is an unhealthy way to do it, but also you have no control over that anger, which is unfortunate, and we shouldn't be engaging with people when we have no control over our emotions. And when you did mention that, what are some of the causes of abuse within our country, and failure to control ourselves is a big cause of that. Even when we talk about sexual abuse, and according to the law, but also according to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Children, children are not supposed to be engaged in any sexual activity, whether it is child to child or adult to child. Even if the child, because some people say, well, the child asked me and so on, they are not supposed to, and it's our role as adults to protect them against that sexual engagement. And lack of self-control is a big thing that leads to that, because just because you have sexual feelings doesn't mean that you need to express them out. Some people have said that, well, you see, especially for the teenagers, they dress provocatively and things like that. But you see, we also have cases of children who are below the age of 5 that are being defiled by adults. And so you're thinking, it's not about how they dress. It's really an issue of the perpetrator. And we need to move beyond blaming the children for the actions of the adults. Now, the saddest thing about child abuse within this country is that most of the perpetrators are those that are known to the children. And just as you've said, it is parents, it is caretakers, it is grandparents, it is brothers, and you're thinking, what's happening within our country that we cannot stand up against things like this? Now, being on this station, we can easily even quote the Bible, and the Bible has a lot to say concerning sexual activity, and it's supposed to happen within the confines of a family. So between husband and wife, it's not supposed to happen before marriage or even outside of marriage. God purposed it to be that way. But when children are engaged in those actions before they are of age, it damages them deep within. And that's the other thing about abuse, is that the different forms of abuse we talk about cause damage to the children and prevent them from developing healthily. And so we need to stand up against all these different forms of abuse. How they are to be handled, I would love to say that, I wouldn't love to say this, but unfortunately it's the reality that most times it's families that protect the perpetrators, because those who inflict these forms of abuse, it's because they have power over these children.
True.
And sometimes it is that uncle, it is that auntie who takes care of the rest of the clan, pays fees for everyone's children, employs most of the family, and so they are thinking, if this person goes to police, then the rest of us are hanging. But forgetting the damage that is being put on these children that are being abused by that person. And so as families, we need to stand up and stop protecting those people. You've said that sometimes the police excuses these people, but it's not really the police. It is the families that rise up. Some of them hide these people, and unfortunately, offenders are not one-time offenders, especially if they are protected. The moment we protect those offenders, then they go out to abuse other people because they know they can get away with it. If we are to stop all these forms of abuse, then we need to deal with it and work together with the authorities for those who have committed the offenses to be held responsible.
Thank you. Reverend?
Yes, thank you. And I think you asked a question about why is it increasing? Why is it going on? And I think one of the things we've realized that as a country, there are many laws, but we don't seem to be heard on those who do them, and unfortunately that's how people continue. They do it, and then there's a lot of bribing, so untouchables. Actually, there's a question that I've been asked all the time about untouchables. People who are, you call so and so, please, you know, he's a son of so and so, he's a rich man, he's whatever. And every time I get to out in the field, they ask me they're untouchables. Even the police seems to fear them, and that's unfortunate. That in this country there are people who the law does not apply to. They are bigger people. They cannot be, and I think if there is something that they've done, especially to little child, those innocent little souls, something should be done, and should be done to teach everybody that this is not right. But also think that as we go on, we've lost ourselves and the norms at which we follow. I look at where we grew from. Everybody was protecting us as children. We were not allowed to do things. You wouldn't go to the river. The other day, yesterday, I was talking to a group of people who work on water, and I told them where you put the water source is also a big point. Do children go out alone to fetch water? Is then someone responsible to see that? And you know, those days the community was old. These days, as if the whole community has forgotten about caring for one another. So the child is sent to the river. We know that the river, and actually I've had young people tell me, we fear the river because when we fetch water, there are men who are there, and I'm like, the whole village. Do they know that there's these men who are waiting for these girls in the night? And they say they know, but no one wants to touch them. And I'm like so troubled. You will know that this water point is a challenge to the children. You know the children go there and they are raped and they are scared and there are men there going to do it, and the whole village seems not to do anything about it. So I think there's a remorsefulness in the society, in the communities, which we have left to go on. If the community knows there's someone who's doing something on the women, and you could hear stories about women saying, we know, they seem to know. Actually, they seem to know that man, this group, the other group which is always drinking alcohol at this time, there's a joint where they are taking drugs from, and we all know. So why are we allowing people who are wrongdoers in our community to continue to be there? You know that most of these guys who are doing it are drunkards there on a bar. They are always drinking late in the evening. There are these guys taking drugs even during the day. We know them. We know what is happening. I think we need to come out. That's why this November month for us as church is coming out to say, let's as a church be able to talk about the things that we have seen that are not right. And let's say this is not acceptable in our society, in our community. Get out, talk to LOC1, talk to the defense chief, talk to the police officers and say, we know this is where the problem is coming from. What are you doing to help us? So I think this continuity is because some things we have seemed to allow them to be untouchables, the areas we seem to let be, and that's why there's sexual violence going on, there's physical violence going on with children, because we actually know. When you ask the communities, they will tell you, we know who are the co-perpetrators, we know what's happening. The other day I was seeing a story where women were saying some people are raping them, and actually they knew who were the guys were arrested, and they said, we knew them, those guys. But I'm like, why do we allow these things in the community to continue? Don't we have a voice as a community, as a church, as the same people to say this is not acceptable? So I think let's say no to things which we see are not right in our communities. It's a combined effort. The media, the church, the community leaders, the police, we all have a voice to say no to the things we say. Have we got the pressure to police? Because I see communities when the road is not good, they go and say, no, this road, they block the road, they do things. What about when we know someone who is abusing our children? What about when we know someone who is not doing the right thing? Do we all come out and say, let's stop this? So I think we need to look out to the community, to the stakeholders, to all of us, to be able to say, if a parent is not doing it right, if we are trying to cover out someone, we say no. And as Patrick has said, most of these offenders are perpetrators whom we know continuously. And I'm saying, can't we say something about it and stop it? Because once we do together, they will even know that, my dear, if I come out and I do something against this, the community will not be happy with me.
Of course.
We will all come against it. But as if there's a complacency, and that's why we are saying as a church, as members of society, let's fight together. Let's not blame the police. Police can do what they can, but if the community is not engaged in defending the children, then we shall not be able to have police do their part.
Okay, so we have an issue of neglect as well, and under this we have, it is a very big topic, because under neglect is where actually these other causes come from. Why? Because these children are left at home with the housemaids or house helpers or house managers. Even the male house managers are there these days. And so they are neglected in a way that their parents wake up in the morning. Before they wake, the parents are already at work. Before they return home, the children are already sleeping. So the parent will only come in when the house manager reports, this child is giving me headache. And what will the parent do? Slap and beat. That is the only thing they care about, especially fathers. They'll turn and say, why are you being indisciplined? Without even listening to them, talking to them. And in the end, we have some of these children going through mental abuse because of neglect. So how can we mitigate this challenge, or what can we do to solve the challenge of neglect that causes mental health situations or mental illnesses in the end in these children? I'll start with Patrick.
Yeah, thank you. We do have a big problem with neglect, and maybe just to mention, you've talked of the house managers, and for many households in Uganda, these are individuals that are below 18, which would make it child labor, and it's something we need to be concerned about, that we are leaving our children in the hands of fellow children who are not, you would say, qualified or even well suited to be able to raise children. Now, I think we have a challenge of parents not understanding what the parental role is. It's not just about giving birth, because when we talk of this neglect, we have different ways in which it manifests. We have the fathers who just have children and are not there to take care of those children, and so you have the single parent households. But you also have those who abandon the children with their grandparents, and all they do is have children, take them to the grandparents.
Yeah.
Then, like you've said, we have those who are absent. Yes, they are at home, but they are absent from the life of the children. That even the time they spend at home is not spent with the children, but it's spent probably on the phone, connecting with people you've been with the whole day. It's spent on the computer, finishing up work. And yet, as parents, we have this God-given responsibility to nurture these children. When you read through the Bible, you see that all the instructions given to the raising of children are given to parents in both the Old and the New Testament. It is the parents to instruct these children in the ways of the Lord. It is the parents to teach them how to go about situations. It is parents to teach them how to go about different aspects of life. And so you have children who don't get this parental love and their development is hindered. Yet a parent has a big role to play. This child needs that connection with this stable adult or adults within their lives. But where that role is neglected, then you have that challenge. I think we need to remind parents of what their responsibility means. It's not just a title, it's not just paying for the needs of the child, but your presence is very important, and what you pass on to your child is also very important. And so you need to create the time to be there for your child. We also need to talk to parents about priorities. And most times we think the financial needs are the priorities, but beyond the financial needs, there is that need of the relationship the child needs with their parents.
Thank you. Reverend Richard, these children are being neglected, and in turn, they get mental issues. What do you have to say about
I
that?
want to agree with Patrick that there's a lot of what we call absentee parents. Absentee parents are those who are not there physically, yes, but there are also those who are there, but their presence is as good as not there. So I have told parents that, you can buy estates, you can work a lot of money, you can invest in whatever, but if your children do not appreciate you and giving them the time that they are called, let me tell you, those things are as good as useless. And I can tell you, research has shown that the best thing you can invest in a child is your time. Children want to know that you have time there for them, you love them. And I have handled many cases with parents sometimes come and say, I give my daughter everything, I give my son everything. Why is this boy not doing what is? And I'm like, but you give them time, because the best thing that the children appreciate in life is time. You see, even us old people, when you give us time, we appreciate. When you take someone out, when you eat, they love it. What about the children? Children are best loved in time, not the material things you've given them, not how much you're paid in school fees for them. If you don't visit them at school, you don't listen to them how the day has been, you don't talk to them about the things that they care about, then you are absent in their lives. So I want to encourage parents to know that the best we can give to our children is our time. Why are we absent? I know that we are working a lot of money, but why are we working for it if the children not appreciate it? Why are you investing in cars, in houses, in whatever? When the children don't see that as something that values them, that they grow and appreciate, let's teach them that actually we love them, let's grow with them. And let me tell you, a child who is loved, even when you don't have enough, and I keep challenging parents that when we grow, many of us grew in homes when we did not have a lot. We were villagers, our parents were always there, they would come. But don't you remember that our parents being there with us made a bigger impact in us than the things we do not have. These days we're looking at the things we have. We have this, we have that, but is that what actually matters in the life of a child? So for us who are parents, the best we can do is give our children time. And I keep challenging us as parents, let us work money, let us build these estates, let us invest in whatever we want to do. But remember that children will not have those as part of the things they will have on. The best they will remember about us is the time we gave them. And let's not forget that there's no better teacher, there's no better house helper, there's no better than a parent. You can delegate it to your housemaid, you can delegate it to a teacher, but I keep telling the parent that you are the best of everything you want your child to learn. Even the things that you want your children to learn, manners, you want them to learn how to eat, you want them to learn how to cook, you want them to learn how to best school. It is, and I think COVID taught us, the time of COVID, realized that actually, as a parent, when you stay with your child, you can teach them better. Teachers are not doing what parents are supposed to do. They are teaching children as class. Remember, teacher has how many in class? And you think they are going to spend your best with your child. No. So the best you can do to give your child is everything you want them to learn. You want them to learn science? Teach them. You want them to learn how to cook? Be with them. You want them to learn good manners? Give them that quality time. So I think parents, sometimes we forget that the best our children can be is us. Okay. Not these coaches of football, not the best thing teachers at school. It is us. You want the child to learn football? Give them time to be with them and learn football with them. Actually, you may not even know football, but as long as you give them time to train, you watch football together, you are the best inspiration in their life.
That's true.
And not necessarily the coach, the one you have hired to be there with them. So parents, I think by us neglecting our responsibility, we actually are losing our generation of young people. It is not how much we invest in them, it is the time that they need from us. Are we giving them that time?
Thank you so much. We are still discussing child violence, and in that topic comes things like abuse, neglect, and torture, which we have been looking at. But we're going to take a very short break and return with our show. Remember, the Archbishop, His Grace, recently launched the month of November as the Children's Month. We are coming back with that and more. Don't go away. We are powered by Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
Family Hour, empowering families one episode at a time. Together, we build strong, healthy, and thriving families with our daily dose of inspiration and expert insights on topics that matter, like education and career growth,
education, deals with the minds of our younger children.
We want to see role model schools.
Family health.
Well, the public is advised to follow the Ministry of Health guidelines.
Finance and wealth.
As the government, as a parliament, we can plug those gaps so that the money that we collect from the wananchi give value to the wananchi.
Leadership and governance.
Leadership, I think, requires unity, people being united to accomplish an objective.
Not forgetting parenting.
For those of us that have children, depending on the level of intimacy, I think it's important to show your children the type of relationship you have.
Catch more of this every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m.
Issues at Hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
Welcome back. You're still watching Issues at Hand with me, Caro Tumwine, and of course my guests in studio, Patrick Byekwaso, Children in Families at Children at Risk Action Network, and he is a programs manager there, and of course Reverend Richard Rukundo, Youth and Children's Program at the Church of Uganda. And we are still discussing child violence and everything that comes with it. We are trying to find solutions to better the relationship between a child and a guardian or parent, because of course that is where each and everything that we're talking about stems from. So if we better that, then we have now solid ground to move on. But before we go to our discussion, I'd like to remind you again that Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe is your place to be in case you are searching for comfort and luxury at its best. Now let's get to the discussion. I would like to start with the issue of the relationship between children and parents that is continually going sour. These days, when a child grows up maybe to the levels of senior secondary school and then university, they no longer want to go back home because already the relationship with their parents is already spoiled. It's not there, and so they can't wait to leave home and leave these nagging parents. They call them or refer to them as nagging, which I think is it's not the intention of the parent to be nagging. They're trying to do their level best to get the best out of this child, to their knowledge. But I think they're doing it wrongly, and they're driving the children away instead of helping them. And I'll start with the Reverend Rukundo. What do you have to say about this issue?
Thank you, Kara. I think as parents, we are learning on the job. And I keep saying that there's no school that trains us as parents to be parents. So whatever you've done wrong and you're a parent, you can always reflect and see whether you can do better. And that's why these programs are there. One of the things I have now learned as a parent also is be able to be calm and not try to push your way into children's lives. I keep saying to parents as a children's worker that children have a mind of their own. They are not like mindless, they don't have ideas, so you have to push your ideas only to them. Share with them your idea, let them share their ideas with them. I keep saying my son now is a teenager, but when he was young, around P6, P7, he loved music and he was learning how to play instruments. Now he's very good, he plays all the instruments, he's now become a master of the instruments. But he wanted actually to do music, and he told me, Daddy, I want to become a DJ, like a music. I said, okay, that sounds great, but how about you continue and see how this career goes on? So recently I asked him, I'm making 15, and I said, by the way, what happened now? Now you're no longer talking about the other way to say, Daddy, I was young. I think now I have grown and realized the dynamics of it. We talked about it that time, and now he has learned instruments, he's now able to play, he's now good, he's now thinking about musical production very nicely, band, but now you can think he's no longer thinking about being a DJ, now he wants to be a businessman, and he's looking at the different ideas. And you see, so children's ideas are still growing. When you shatter them at that age, it looks like you don't understand that they have a mind of their own. They will share with you, some things are crazy, some things don't seem like they're right. But how do you respond as a parent? Sometimes I say, give them time, be patient, don't show them that you're surprised, you're shocked. No, you must be a doctor. Now in this house there's nothing like, I give you time and say, okay, that sounds interesting, but let's see how it goes. Give it time, let's see what have you realized, to do research about it. Take time to see at what age will you be able to do it, maybe above 18. And as time grows by, they grow, they will begin realizing that it's possible, it's not possible. And I think sometimes as parents we are reactionary, we just take them for granted. We think that they shouldn't say anything to us which is sensible, but they have ideas, they have things to say to us, and they want to do. I was sharing my experience of how my son recently were talking about the things we have at home and how we can use them to actually mentor other children. I have an organization where I think we can help children, and I know he knows how to play music. We have a library, children, and I was like, what can we do with the things we have? And he came out and said, no, Daddy, I actually been thinking about the same idea. We have these books, we have these materials, we have these books, we have these instruments, these guitars. I think we can actually begin as Center for Training Children. And the ideas were much more than mine. I thought, oh my God, this is wonderful. But you see, sometimes as parents, we are quick to say, it's my idea. Don't bring in your ideas. Parents, let's realize that children have a mind of their own. They have ideas, they like to share with us. As they grow, how do we understand them? Let's not be reactionary. Let's not be angry at what they have said, which is irrational, which is stupid. I like the clip that has gone around sometime of the parent who was helping a child to earn. When I don't want to do formal education, I want to earn money. So he said, how much do you think you'll earn as a formal earn? And then began dividing the money, and you pay rent, now you do this. And when the child realized, oh my God, I need a better job. Otherwise, the job of... And the child, they had told the father, I want to not go to school, I just want to make money as a formal sector. I think there's a lot of money. He said, okay, how much do you think you will be earning as a formal sector? Okay, let's put the money here. How much are you going to be paying? And the parent finally helped the child to realize that, my dear, it's not as easy as you look at it. So let's help our children to know that reality is not the way they see it, but it takes time. It's not something we should do it with anger, with bitterness, with rage, as if that's what my way, my idea. Give the child a time to appreciate, and let them start when they're young, when they're university. As they go through, they will learn that what you're sharing with them was actually truth. You've gone through this life, you understand it better. Let them be able to learn from you. Let them learn from those. But if you show them that you are the one who knows it all, then they see you as crazy. They don't understand you.
And they want to run away from you. Okay, Mr. Byekwaso, briefly, the parents are forcing these children to become doctors and lawyers, yet the children have their own perspective and understanding of what they want to become. What do you have to say about that, briefly?
Yeah, I would just love to agree with Reverend Richard that one, we need to encourage children to participate in decisions that affect their life and their future, and this should be age appropriate, the discussions we have with them. And as our children continue growing, and in this generation where they're exposed to many things, they know sometimes even more about certain things than we do. Yeah. So we need to give them that opportunity. The other thing I would like to add to that is our children are uniquely gifted by God, and He has deposited something unique in each of them. And part of our role as parents is to discover what God has deposited within those children. Interesting enough, yesterday we were having discussions with my in-laws about our sons and how our sons are different. And our eldest son is one who likes to see how things work. Like you give him a toy, he's looking at it and he's impressed, but he's thinking, how does this work? Like, why is it when I press this button, this moves? And so you kind of see there's that curiosity in him. Of course, it's not good for my budget because I have to keep buying toys. But you see there is something in him that you're thinking, how do we nurture this? And as we said earlier, if we don't have time with the children, we're not going to discover how they're uniquely gifted or uniquely built by God, so that we point them in a direction that agrees with their giftings. Yet we want to force them. But at the start of this show, we said, our times are different from the current times, and as parents we need to upgrade in a way such that our parenting is not just what happened to us, but it is relevant for the times that we live in.
Thank you. I think these are very, very insightful discussions. I hope as a parent you're picking something, and as a child as well, you're picking something from these discussions. However, I'd like to ask a question. Now, the Archbishop, His Grace the Archbishop, the Most Reverend Dr. Stephen Samuel Kazimba Mgalu, recently launched November as a Children's Month, and it is for the church in Uganda to support the parents as they're raising their children, to support the children as they're rising up, to support the children in learning God's ways, but also the ways that they should follow as they are going through life. And of course, we thank God for this beautiful venture, but as Reverend Richard, I'm sure you have something to say about it.
Yes, thank you very much, Carol. Yes, the Archbishop launched a Focus Month for Children. We call it Focus Month for Children, November.
Okay.
And that is coming from the Church of Uganda Provincial Assembly, which has resolved that we should be having a month every year focusing on children. Now, our main intention why the Archbishop launched this is that we can do better as a church in advocating for children, especially these days when we see violence everywhere. And there's more of a pandemic which is not seen, the quiet silence, the mental health issues that actually affect the children. Right now, when you go to mental issues, you see that many of us are affected mentally, and the children are the most affected. They are on drugs, they are beat at home, there is no... When the economy becomes hard, as people say the economy is difficult, then the children are the most affected, because we are getting our anger out of our jobs and where there's no money into the children. So as a church, we're calling on the public and the church leaders and the church members and all the government and civil society organizations to increase participation in helping leaders raise their voice, that we all have to say, the TV platforms, media platforms where we can be. Thank you very much, Church of Uganda Family TV, for giving us this time to be able to come out and say, yes, we need to talk more about the things in society we see and we don't think are right. Let's talk about them over and over and over. Let's be our norm. Pray for them as well. We need to pray for these children, support them, encourage them. As we've been saying, the children are struggling also. They have lots of things they don't understand. Parents don't understand them. The community is difficult. Things are hard on them. Let's pray for them. Let's encourage them. They're not doing exams. I know P7s are going to begin now. The S4s have been doing, the S6s are doing. Encourage them, support them. Let's not raise the expectation for them. You must pass, you must make grade A, you must get... Children are going to need our prayers and support in this time. But also we're saying compassionate programs. There are many children who are out there and are in need. We see children on the streets, we see children in Sunny Baby's home, we see children who need it. What are we doing to help this child? You may have something, give it to them. If you can adopt a child, you can pray with them, you can take them in and care for them. Let's do this. Many relatives who are with these children, you know, children on the streets, and I met these children in the street and asked them, you know, I left home, I escaped from home. Some of them have their parents, some of them have relatives. Why are we not caring for these children? Let's be able to there and reach out and support these children who need our help, compassionate programs, but also talk about public intolerance to things which are not fair, injustices that happen to children. And again, we have seen that the cultures where children are mistreated, there are things we have accepted, that's normal, that's okay, witchcraft, whatever, and we think it is driving with children. Can we come out as a church, as communities, say these injustices that we have seen in the communities that are not fair, let's talk against them. Let's say children deserve the better, children need to go to school. There are communities where you find girls don't get educated, and it's okay. You know, boys are supposed to do this, and it's okay. You know, those communities are things that we have accepted, and we know they are not fair. Let's come out against them. And finally, I think we need to talk about the spearheading things against violence, especially to the media, to the other places where we can. Yeah, churches has platforms, or someone's preaching about things that we see are not right in homes. Help parents. And I keep saying parents are learning. They are not perfect in everything. Children are also not perfect in everything. Let's preach about it in our churches. Let's teach Mothers Union, Fathers Union. Let's do something about what we are doing in our homes to raise our children, be better, to be citizens of this country, who love their country, who love to work, who have a passion to grow. Amen.
Thank you so much for this beautiful discussion. As we wrap up, I would like to ask each of you to give your last words as you encourage both the parents and the children out there to stay on course. I'll start with Mr. Byekwaso.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been an honor to be with you this morning and to just share a few things. And I'll just love to say, most times when we talk about children's rights, people get really scared and they're like, you're spoiling our children, what is this? But children's rights really focus on 4 areas. We're thinking of children surviving, and where once they are conceived, they have to be given birth to give an identity. We're thinking of children being protected as they survive. We're thinking of children also developing, and you're thinking of issues to do with education and health, and you're thinking of children participating as per our last discussion. And so it's not really to say we're spoiling children, but how do we help children grow up and thrive according to God's plan for them? And for us who are parents, we need to be thinking of now is the time children are being formed, and now is the time we need to make the critical decisions to support the children in their being formed. But also children have the responsibilities at home, and just because we have rights, let's not ignore our responsibilities and our obedience to our parents. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Reverend Richard, please.
Thank you very much. First of all, I appreciate Church of Uganda Family TV and Carol for hosting us and being able to help us give our voice out there that we all have at stake. And parents, let me encourage you to know that these children are gifts, they're blessings blessings, they're not burdens. And I know holiday is about to come. Many parents say they're not burden, children are a problem. Children are a blessing. They came, they have been given to us by God. Let's love them, let's give them the best we can. And as a church, we are saying, can we do better? Can we reach out the children? Can we love them? Can we show them that God loves them, but also we love them? And let me tell you, the things that are precious in the lives of the children are not that cost money. Things like time, things like love, give them a hug, things like you tell them how great they are. Those things don't cost money. The things of affirmation to them, protecting them, working with them, encouraging them. So I'm thinking that many times we look at what we don't have. Parents, let's look at what we have. We have love for them, we have time with them, and that's why God has put us here. Love them, give them. I know this country has more children than anything else. We have the biggest numbers. Can we do our best to make sure these numbers grow and thrive? And like we say in children's ministry, that giving every child opportunity to grow and excel. Every child, whether poor or rich, whether young or big, given or gifted, they can grow and excel and be what God wants them to be.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for a very beautiful and insightful discussion. The conversation is ongoing on our social media platforms, where we are live on YouTube, but also on other pages like Church of Uganda Family TV on Twitter, on Instagram and Facebook. Feel free to comment. We shall be there to reply, and of course keep the conversation going. Share with a friend so that they can also have a chance to watch this beautiful discussion. You have been a very great audience. Till tomorrow, I think it's time to say goodbye. Stay well. God bless you.
Issues at hand.